There's something appealing about upgrading your existing bike instead of buying a whole new e-bike. It feels practical, flexible, and more personal. But the moment you explore conversion kits, you quickly realize they're not all built the same way. Some focus on simplicity, others on raw performance. And today we're putting two popular choices, the Livall PikaBoost 2 Lite Edition and the Kamingo conversion kit, to see how they really perform in everyday riding situations and which one feels more practical in the long run. Let's get started. Most riders don't actually want to change the whole experience of their bike. They want to improve it. Something that makes hills easier, commutes lighter, and long rides less tiring without turning the whole experience into something unfamiliar. And that's exactly the space where the PikaBoost 2 Lite sits. What makes it stand out right away is how effortless it feels to begin. Because the first time you deal with the PikaBoost 2 Lite, the experience is almost surprisingly simple. You don't sit there reading manuals for long, you don't need to look for tools, you just attach it to your seat post, press the power button, and it's ready. On the bike itself, it also feels very respectful. That might sound strange, but what I mean is it doesn't try to take over your setup. No messy cables, no bulky blocks sitting in the middle of your frame. It just sits quietly and blends in. That's it. And in real use, that "that's it" moment matters more than people expect. There were moments where it felt almost too simple, in a good way. Like we are about to go for a quick ride, and instead of preparing anything, we just snap it on and go. No delay, no mental resistance. It is something very easy to activate, stops feeling like a special device, and starts becoming part of your routine. You just use it when you need it. And that changes the attitude toward it. Because there's no barrier, you end up using it more naturally. Morning commute, quick grocery run, even a lazy evening ride, it just becomes part of your routine without thinking too much about it. Now on the road, the feeling is where it really settles in. We're not talking about aggressive acceleration here. It doesn't try to dominate the ride. The motor sits at 250 watts continuous power with a 500 watt peak, but you don't really feel it as raw force. Instead, it behaves more like a support layer under your pedaling. When you start pedaling, it gently joins in. When you hit a slope, it quietly adds support so your pace doesn't drop. And on flat roads, it almost disappears completely. You still hear the bike, you still feel the road, and stay in full control. And that's where the interesting part begins. Because after a few rides, you stop thinking, "I'm riding with a motor," and start thinking, "This is just easier than before." That's probably the best way to describe it. Here, the smart algorithm plays a big role. It reads your pedaling rhythm and adjusts assistance in real time. So instead of fixed power levels, it feels responsive. If you push harder, it matches you. If you relax, it reduces output. It feels less like switching modes and more like the bike understanding your pace. Even the top speed, around 25 kilometers per hour, feels intentional. It keeps everything stable and predictable. There's no sudden acceleration that forces you to adjust your posture or grip. It just stays within a comfortable riding zone. Battery-wise, its 158 watt-hour pack, giving around 50 kilometers range, sounds modest on paper, but in real use, it covers most daily situations comfortably. Commuting, short city hops, relaxed rides, it rarely feels like you're running out. And charging takes around 3 hours, so it easily fits into daily routines. Plug it in after a ride, and it's ready again without planning your day around it. What we also liked is how light it feels to live with. At around 3 kilograms total, it doesn't feel like you're carrying extra machinery. The battery alone is about 1 kilogram, which means even when you remove it, it stays easy to manage. You don't feel like you're dealing with a heavy system every time you install or remove it. Long-term, it holds up well too, maintaining around 80% capacity after 1,000 cycles. So it's not something that fades quickly after a few months of use. And the IPX5 water resistance also gives peace of mind. If rain starts suddenly, you don't need to panic. You just continue riding. There's also app support, but interestingly, it never feels necessary. You can use it completely without opening anything. The app is just an optional layer, not a requirement. That keeps the experience simple. But where Livall really quietly earns trust is in how it behaves while riding. While riding with it, there were a few wet road moments, especially painted crossings and slightly sandy patches. And instead of feeling the wheel slip or the assist push awkwardly, the system just softened itself automatically. It didn't feel like a feature you notice. It is something quietly keeps the bike steady without interrupting the ride. With many systems, that's where things start to feel slightly unstable. But here, slip detection quietly adjusts power the moment traction changes. Same with braking. The moment we press the lever, motor assist cut instantly. No delay, no extra push, just a clean stop. It feels clean, predictable, and controlled. Even things like the rear LED light become something you rely on more than you expect. It brightens when braking, so vehicles behind can read your movement better. It sounds minor, but in traffic, those small signals matter. And the tires also play a part in that feeling. The V-shaped grip design just keeps the bike planted in a way that feels predictable. Uneven roads, park paths, small bumps, it doesn't feel nervous or unstable. Even the tilt protection is something you only appreciate after a few rides. If the bike leans too far, assistance stops immediately so you can recover balance. It doesn't interfere, it just steps back when things don't look right. So after a while, the whole experience becomes less about using a device and more about just riding comfortably. And that's probably the key difference. Now moving to the Kamingo e-bike conversion kit. Well, the first thing that hit us was the setup. It feels more like a project. You've got the motor, battery, controller, sensors, all separate parts that need proper installation. It's not confusing if you're used to bike systems, but it definitely asks for time and attention. And compared to Livall, there's no just snap and ride feeling here. It's more like set it up first, then experience it. Once it's installed though, the bike changes its personality. It feels more mechanical, more built. You can actually see the system working on the frame, and if someone likes that engineered look, this might be satisfying. On the ride itself, the difference becomes even clearer. The 750 watt peak power is noticeable immediately. Acceleration feels stronger, and the bike carries you with far less effort. Also, the cruise mode is something you feel right away because at that point you don't really need to pedal much at all. And that's where the experience splits. With Kamingo, we felt like the bike was doing the work for us. It's fast, powerful, and it definitely feels more like an electric vehicle style ride. But at the same time, it also moves away from that natural cycling rhythm. That's the key difference. You don't really ride in the same way. You operate. Range also stretches further, up to around 90 kilometers, which is impressive for longer rides. But in daily city use, it almost feels like more system than you actually need. Safety here is more about protection of the hardware. Strong water resistance, battery management, Bluetooth lock, all solid. But it doesn't really adapt to how you ride in real time. There's no soft adjustment when surfaces change, no dynamic assist tuning while riding. It stays more fixed in behavior. And one thing that we can't ignore is the experience around availability. Kamingo, being a newer entry, has had some reports from early backers about delayed deliveries and longer wait times. Not everyone faced it, but it does come up in conversations. And that uncertainty matters when you're spending money on something like this. So if we step back from specs and just think about how both feel in real use, the difference becomes pretty clear. With the Livall PikaBoost 2 Lite Edition, the experience feels calm, natural, and easy to live with. It doesn't try to change your riding identity. It just makes everything smoother. You still feel like you're riding your bike, just with less effort and more comfort in the background. With Kamingo, the experience shifts more toward power and transformation. It turns the bike into something closer to a full electric setup. Fast, strong, and more mechanical in feel, but also less connected to that traditional cycling rhythm. And if we're being honest, from a daily rider perspective, Livall feels like the one that fits into life more quietly, because we don't always need more power. Sometimes, we just need the same ride to feel easier, safer, and more natural every single day. That was all. Thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos. And don't forget to share your experience in the comments.